friends, and welcome to the You, Me, We book launch. I am so excited to be here. I am keynote speaker and magician Ben Whiting, and today I'm here with the authors of You, Me, and We, the Sky Team Unicorns, Ruby, Morag, Eric. How are you doing, friends?
We are so good, my friend. So good.
Oh, man, I tell you, the only way I could be better is if I was you. Well, before we do anything, we have to raise a glass. We have to raise a glass because this has been a long time in the works. Cheers to you, friends.
Chink. Cheers.
Thank you, Damien. Which brings me to my first question. How long has You, Me, We been in the works?
Well, if I'm honest, it started in a galaxy far, far away. At least that's how it feels. At the bottom of the Washington Monument, where we were attending the ATD conference, weren't we? And Cultivate had just come out. Yeah, 2014. And we were talking about Cultivate, the Power of Winning Relationships, my first book, and already realizing that the impact that was having meant that we were going to have to write the sequel, the how do we show up as a friend to others. So if I go back to the origin, it was 2014, but we started putting pen to paper in January 2020, one of the silver linings of the pandemic, where we tried to weave and braid our three perspectives into what is now You, Me, We.
Oh, now you mentioned a fantastic book, another book that I have right up here. Both of these books, by the way, available on Amazon right now. If you go look, you can look up either one. So, Morag, I have to ask what are the differences between Cultivate and You, Me, We? How is this going to be taking it up a notch?
All right. So Cultivate introduces what I describe as the relationship ecosystem. It is me looking outward at the health of my relationships with others. On the other hand, You, Me, We is about looking inward first. It is the deeper dive on how do I show up as an ally, as a best friend, not just for the others on whom I'm dependent for my success, but how do I also show up as a best friend at work for myself? So they are connected, deeply connected. You can read them in any order, but read them both.
Or read them both. So now, Morag, some people might be saying something. I get my goals, I get my tasks, I get them all done. Why relationships? Why do I need to worry about the relationships in the workplace? What is that? How is that going to benefit me if I'm getting all my stuff done?
Yeah, it's funny, Ben. I had a coaching client one time say to me, do I have to be friends with these people? Because I just want to come in and do my job and go home. And truth be told, you don't have to, but it's a whole lot better if you are. When you think about performance, high performing teams, you don't get to that high performance unless you can establish some credible level of trust, some credible level of vulnerability. And you don't do that without developing and deepening those relationships. It's a game changer for performance, bottom line performance, right?
And a wise person once told me that the number one driver of productivity, engagement, and happiness at the workplace is having quality relationships with the people that we work with, whether those are employees, whether those are the customers and clients we serve, or whether that's leadership that's above us. And of course, I think if you're a leader, this book is just fundamental into what we need to learn to be effective. That is so great. So I got to ask, you said you started writing this book in January of 2020.
Yeah.
I'm going to guess that maybe I don't know if you heard about this.
Yeah.
But around March of 2020,
something happened.
They announced there was going to be a new season of Game of Thrones. I got really excited. But this other thing that happened was a worldwide pandemic. How did that impact your writing process? Did it have an impact on the content of what you were writing? I'd love to hear more about that.
It's so interesting. Thank you, Ben. As we think about just our own relationships, we've always worked virtually, but we also were able to travel a lot together and spend some of that one-on-one time. When the pandemic hit, we actually started to feel some of the fracture even in our own relationships. So it's really drove this whole idea home that we need to invest in our relationships. And during the pandemic, what we've discovered is that we have to actually be even more intentional about our relationships, because we can be at home and people may not know what's going on with us. We could be sick. We could have had something really significant happen in our personal lives, and no one would ever even know unless we actually reached out and told them about it.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. And I love what you say there, Ruby, about intention, because I think another wise person once said to me, it was Morag or Eric, I forget which one, that
Was it
whether
me? I'm
or
pretty sure
not,
it was me.
it could be. But whether or not we are cognizant of how we're approaching our relationships, everything we do has an impact on them. So we might as well be
Mhm.
intentional with our actions, with our words, with our behaviors. Now, this is something else that I'm really excited to talk to you guys about. You were known kind of collectively as the unicorns. I have to ask, as a unicorn in training, a unicorn want to be, what is the significance of unicorns?
Oh, spoiler alert coming up. Spoiler alert, because it's actually in the book. And it's funny, it was a Moragism. It was a throwaway comment when Eric and I met on our first date. He'd been introduced to me because, I'll give you the full story, he was thinking of joining another consulting organization, and he'd arrived with this amazing spreadsheet of assumptions, you know, how much he was going to invest in marketing, how long it would take to the first sale, all sorts of assumptions. And some of you will know I spent 15 years in finance. I've spent a lot of time getting very intimate with spreadsheets. And so I took one look at this and I said to Eric, I said, well, it looks great. The assumptions are fabulous. I said, but it's all wishes, ponies, and unicorns. And Eric was like, what?
What? Unicorns?
And I said, well, yes. I mean, you can make the spreadsheet say whatever you like. The proof is in the doing. Until then, it's hopes and dreams. So what happened the next day is I got over my British Reserve as I was sitting there thinking, well, maybe I should ask Eric to join Sky Team. And I was thinking, well, no, I'll wait and see how his interviews go. And then I gave myself a virtual shake of, no, ask him now. And he thankfully said yes. But here was the kicker. What happened on our first business trip, Eric, when we went up to Seattle together?
Well, in my business plan, I had written, sort of my first revenue at about 6 months of productivity. And that was great. And Morag and I took a trip to Seattle in January of 2013, the week I officially started. And she asked, do you know anybody in Seattle? I'm like, yeah, I know a few people in Seattle. And we had dinner with a guy on our first night in town. And at 6 a.m. the next morning, he texted me and asked if I could fly to San Jose to facilitate his team meeting. So I had to go across the hall and knock on Morag's door and say, is it okay if I take off? Because I just sold a thing.
What happened is wishes, ponies, unicorns became part of our lexicon, but it's now got to that point where at home I probably have more than 100 unicorn themed items, including custom coated Oreos right now, because clients have heard about it. It has become part of who we are, and those have been gifted to me. So I've not bought them. I may have been the source of the unicorns, but for us, it's also the magic of the work that we do, helping us to be the unique version of a leader that we all aspire to. So that's it.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And I'm looking right here in the comments. I'm seeing so many wonderful people on joining us today. Friends, if you have any, thank you, Isaac. Yes, friends. And that being said, if you have any questions at all for Eric, Morag, Ruby, feel free to put them in the comments section. We have an amazing tech guy named Luke who will be happy to throw them up on the screen so I can see them. And obviously, if you're just excited to be here, we love hearing that as well. Oh, now, this being said, Eric, Ruby, Morag, fun has always been kind of an integral part of your process, whether that's behind the scenes, preparing for something, or, on stage, as I've worked with Eric. We always bring an element of fun to what we do. Do you have just like some other fun examples of you bringing fun into the workplace? And can you illuminate why that might be important?
Eric goes first. He gets to go.
Well, I mean, I think we work more than we do anything else, right? And that is, if we're not having fun doing it, we're doing it wrong. For us, we're to that point in our lives and careers where we're picky. We're picky about who we work with. We're picky about clients. We're picky about partners. We're picky about vendors. Because if we can't enjoy each other, being around each other, goofing off. You know, I'm famous for telling a joke, giving a rim shot. And, you know, it's a quirky little stupid thing, but it's fun and it makes people a little bit more lighthearted and it changes the tone of the relationship. And I think it helps to build trust. And especially if you're not overdoing it or overselling the fun element, it allows you to show up more as your authentic self. I don't know, Ruby, what would you say?
It makes me think about something we do in our staff meeting every week. We talk about our ripples and joys. What are those things that created ripple effects for our business, for our coachees, the work that we've been doing that week, but also the joys in our lives. And we laugh so much during that time together. And we've also cried together. We've lived through deaths in our families. We've lived through divorces, marriages. We've lived through a lot together. And it's that being connected and having fun and having joy, but also experiencing the hard stuff too together is what makes this feel fun and feel lighter at work.
Correct.
Oh, that is fun. Yeah.
Oh, well, there you go. So I would build on that. It was funny when we started Ripples and Joys. I thought it was so hokey.
Yeah,
But
me
maybe that's
too.
because I was being it wasn't just me. There you go.
And we're like, let's get the meeting going.
Yeah, can we get down to business? But that goes back to Ben's earlier question about the importance of relationships, because I know early in my career, I favored independence, just getting it done, British stiff upper lip, walk it off, nothing to see here, I've got it. And recognizing that interdependence is where the magic happens, and that we all come together with some element of trash talk. I think about the 100 coaches that I'm part of, and walking into that room of gods and goddesses in leadership and of industry and thinking, oh my God, why am I here? I'm about to get caught out. But the reality being that everybody has that moment of self-doubt. And when we can put that to one side and truly focus on you, on what's happening in your world, be ready to share the me and my story and my vulnerabilities and my excitement about the book or my nerves about whatever, that's when we get to the we of how can we help each other to have fun in life, to have success in our careers, but just generally enjoy our time on this planet. There you go. Very profound. I'm going to have some more champagne.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's really smart.
that is profound. So that's great. So this is excellent. And Morag, you kind of transition immediately into my next kind of series of questions. We're going to learn about ourselves. We're going to learn how to cultivate winning relationships with the ally mindset. We're going to be able to foster our authentic selves and build trust with other people, because we all know change can only happen at the speed of trust. What other takeaways? What is, if I read You, Me, We, what value am I going to get out of it? What results can I expect?
Well, that's why we wrote this book, because when we introduced the relationship ecosystem, which I mentioned earlier on, there are 4 relationship dynamics that I explain in the model. There is the adversary. On their best days, brilliant jerks. On their worst days, just jerks. But the reality is nobody gets up in the morning wanting to be an adversary. Right. None of us want to get the reputation of being a jerk, but sometimes our misunderstood genius results in that label. We talk about rivals, where we might be in competition for budget for a project or promotion. We talk about supporters, the fair weather friends, the ones who are with you when things are going well, yay, and crickets when things start getting tough. And the ally relationship, the best friend at work, is the person who's going to cheer you on, but give you the kick in the pants when you need it. They're the ones that when you do have a career misstep, and maybe you've skinned your knees, they're going to help pick you up. And that's what this book is about. This is what the readers, you all, are going to learn. But more importantly is what I'm still learning every day. Because what we wrote in You, Me, We was how to show up as an ally. And we identified 5 practices, and we called them practices specifically because, as I will share, some come naturally to me and some I have to be thoughtful and intentional about. And it's those 5 practices that make a difference. Ruby, what would you add? There you go. All right, not Ruby.
Well, you know, I think about the practices and how they build on one another. You know, this book is all about the choices that you make in relationships that you show up in. Right. And the 5 practices, it starts with abundance and generosity. And if you don't have this mindset of there is enough, right? We work in the same place. We're all on the same team. There's enough for everybody to be successful. if you don't start there, it's really hard. It's really hard to get to courage and vulnerability if you don't have this abundance mindset. And I remember when I first started working with Morag at the end of 2012, we did a little trials period. And I asked her, I said, who are your biggest competitors? And she said, I have no idea. And I thought, wow. I mean, I come from a from an entrepreneurial family and a very, sort of hard driving set of parents. And that never even occurred to me, right? That you wouldn't know exactly who your competition was and you wouldn't be trying to crush them at any moment. And that's not how she rolls. That's not how she operates her life. And it was a big eye opener for me. So, thinking about the choices that I get to make when I show up in these relationships, I've made huge sea change in how I show up in relationships because of that mindset.
And abundance and generosity, you said, it's my foundational operating system. For me, success is a shared resource, not a scarce resource. I've lost count of the number of coaches and small businesses I've mentored so that they can get to success quicker and learn from my mistakes or adapt and adjust, because I just thrive on helping us all to get to that unique level of success. But as Ruby will share, candor and debate, depending on what we're talking about, I could be a big old scaredy cat.
Well, that's what I love about this book, right? There are the 5 practices of what it means to be a best friend at work. How do you show up for other people? And we also have an ally mindset profile that goes along with it. Some questions you can ask yourself to be like, where am I really good at this, at being a friend at work? And where do I need to turn up the heat a little bit? Like for me, connection and compassion has always come very naturally. It's something that, for whatever reason, where I've come from, how I've been raised, it's something that comes really naturally. But candor and debate, difficult. It's hard for me to have a tough conversation. Also, courage and vulnerability. That's another one of the practices. It's hard for me sometimes to be really vulnerable and ask for help, but not only ask for help, but actually take it. And so that's the gift in this book, is to that introspection for me, I think, of what do I do really well? What are my strengths? And then where do I need to show up a little bit differently? Maybe not everywhere. You can just try it with one relationship. Where do I really want to build this connection with this one person? There's lots of great tactics in there.
They say the 3 most difficult things for a person to say to someone else is, I'm sorry, I need help, and I love Worcestershire. I forget. I don't know how to say it.
There you go.
But Worcestershire sauce. Yes, but here's the thing. What I'm really hearing is not so much asking myself, how can this book help me? It's how can this book not help me? Because we realize we're all better together. And if we can have quality relationships at work, people who don't just hear us, but care about what we have to say and what we're trying to accomplish, they're going to be helping us, and that'll help us achieve any goal we have in life. So friends, if you're just joining us, a quick reminder, we're here talking about You, Me, We, written by the amazing people at SkyeTeam, Morag, Eric, Ruby, available right now at, Alicia, fantastic. Yes, I got my book a few weeks ago. I have dug in, and it is fantastic. But it's available right now at Amazon if you would like to order it. Also, don't forget, they also have Cultivate, written by Morag, another fantastic book. You don't even have to read them in order. You can go You, Me, We. If you like that, you can get more in Cultivate. So make sure you get those both right now on Amazon. Friends, if you have any questions at all, throw it in the comments. We're going to make sure we get those directly to the SkyeTeam unicorns so they can answer them. All right. So, unicorns rule. Thank you. LinkedIn user. Is that an Irish? LinkedIn user.
It's anonymity.
Oh, there we go.
Unicorns.
Oh, yes. Eve, you want it. And should you enjoy the book so much that you want to send a gift to SkyeTeam unicorn themed gifts, always take precedent and priority. So what I'd love right now, because all 3 of you, you're great presenters, you're amazing storytellers. What is a fun story, either about writing the book or maybe a time that you learned a lesson that you put in the book? I would just love to hear one.
I can start. One of the stories I share in the book is in the connection and compassion chapter. And I talk about in my early 20s when my father passed away. I think I'm going to get emotional because I think I didn't sleep very well last night. But he had cancer, and there were 6 months of my working life when I was able to go see my dad every day. And he eventually passed away, 6 months after his diagnosis. But what I remember about that time in my life was my manager, Val, my boss, and the entire HR team that I worked with. They were with me every step of the way. They didn't coddle me, but they made sure I was okay, that I had what I needed. And at the funeral, every single one of them were there. And that taught me that how we show up as leaders has significant ripple effects on the people around you. And we're teaching people all the time how to be. And that changed how I show up as a leader. So that's one of the stories that are really meaningful for me that are in the book and that I loved sharing in this venue.
I'm gonna double down on the bummer stories.
I love this though.
Yeah. I mean, this is about vulnerability and courage and vulnerability, and how much courage it takes to be vulnerable. I mean, most people know, if they know me at all, they've heard me talk about depression and anxiety. I soapbox about it all the time, because it's real. And I sort of hit my rock bottom during my time here in SkyeTeam, and having a conversation about that. Yeah, no, I'm going to get emotional. Having a conversation about that with the people you work with is risky. Mm-hmm. You know, as you're working through these very deeply personal, troubling issues, you think, well, this is impacting how I show up. It's impacting the quality of my work. I'm not at my best for sure. I'm going to have to tell them how bad it is. And when I do that, I may get fired. I may get taken off of really important projects. There's a lot of risk for me in that situation, but I can't go on like this. I can't continue down this path and hide it or mask it. So I'm going to have to be as authentic as I can be. And that's super risky, but I did it anyway. And fortunately for me, they didn't cut me loose. They didn't take away any of my responsibilities.
My goodness. Eric, how many, just right now, to people watching right now, just throw it in the comments. How many people are watching this being like, man, I wish I worked in a place where this was the culture, where we could be this open and authentic and vulnerable? Go ahead and throw that. Give me a thumbs up or just a yes in the comments. And because I'm listening to this right now being like, wow, man, if they ever need to expand or hire, this is, yeah. Everyone on this call is going to want to hop in. Everyone's going to want to hop in. And if you want to have a culture like this, where, you know, the people you work with can just be open and authentic, Amazon.com. I'm looking right here. Amy Stumer bought 2 books because she knew she would want to give one away. And that is exactly why I have all these books back here, because this is going to be my new thank you. Yeah, Amy, this is absolutely astounding. Ruby, Eric, thank you guys so much for just kind of opening up and sharing that, not just with SkyeTeam Unicorns, but with everyone here today. Morag. All right. British stiff upper lip. Are we gonna, what's the story we're gonna tell today?
So I do share one of my courage and vulnerability stories in the book, and I carried that one with me for 20 years. It's the true story as to why did I start SkyeTeam, in addition to always wanting to run a business. But what was the actual catalyst on day one? But I won't do the spoiler alert on that. However, I recognize that what we have here is truly special. We live and breathe this, but we also sprinkle the magic through the leadership programs that we do, the team coaching that we're doing, the individual executive coaching. And I've seen this transform individual leader reputations. I've seen it transform team and organizational performance. And as we've already said, we describe these as practices. I may have written 2 books on this topic. I'm still learning. And if I flash back a few years ago, I was in a toxic business relationship that I was applying the British stiff upper lip to. I kept thinking, if I just work harder, if I keep showing up differently, I'm going to be able to fix it. And I remember one particularly emotional conversation with my friend Linda. She may or not be here. We were sitting by Lake George, very pretty location. I was not pretty because I was sobbing hysterically and finally letting out all of the stress and the worry and the angst I was carrying. Because if I was to tell the world what was happening, the gaslighting, the ghosting, you'd think I was crazy. You would think this is my story, that I was a failure, that what the heck, you're supposed to be this leadership expert and you can't even navigate it yourself. I was feeling guilt for Eric and Ruby, but if I pull the plug on this, what about us? They depend on the ability of us to work successfully. I have never felt so worthless, so powerless, so to my knees as I did in that moment. But also, now with the distance of time, I'm not grateful for that experience because nobody should go through it. But I'm grateful for the learnings because the seeds are in you, me, we.
Mhm.
Nobody should ever feel less than. And when we're in a team where we know, like, and trust each other, I get goosebumps because anything is possible. And we prove it every single day. And we want to help you do the same.
That is incredible, Morag. So I just have to ask, you just mentioned a little bit of the ways that you can sprinkle the you, me, we message throughout the world. I heard executive coaching. I heard keynotes. What are some other just basic offerings and ways that SkyeTeam helps organizations, not just around the country, but around the globe?
Yeah, well, we operate in I think of it as 3 different channels, right? Channel number 1 is programmatic leadership development programs, right? We do cohorted programs with groups of people over time, anywhere from 3 or 4 months to 6 to 9 months, either at the frontline manager level or at the leader of leaders level. That's channel number 1. Channel number 2 is intact team development. We work with teams over time that stay together. So we'll start with a team kickoff or a team recharter, and then we'll work with that group over time to make sure that they are on the same page, rowing in the same direction, holding each other accountable, and have a series of operating agreements by which they work. And then that third channel is executive coaching. So it's 1 to many, 1 to few, and 1 to 1. What else would you guys say?
That would be it. And of course, our keynotes on the stage, we'll have your audience up and dancing, having fun in person, or as we've all learned to do now through the magic of technology. And I've gone from a complete cynic and skeptic to the virtual delivery to when Eric's emceeing and doing this, and we have Ben on here too. It's just energizing. So let's keep doing it.
Well, for me to sum all that up, it's about making life lighter at work. Because as Eric started this conversation, we spend so much time at work and no one deserves to be in this really tough situation. And that's what we care about, is just helping to make it a little bit better in some small way, because ultimately that impacts your whole life. That impacts your personal life, because we know that we can't actually separate our work and our personal lives.
Yeah.
And here comes some stat. 20% of leaders, whether it's Gallup research or our own, so that say that they have no friends at work, not one.
Not one.
67% of those who've done the Ally Mindset Profile report that their success has been undermined by the words or actions of a colleague. So think about that moment. Loneliness was an epidemic before the pandemic. We've all been working at a distance. I don't know about you, but my small talk and my 3-dimensional people skills have somewhat atrophied in the last 3 years. We all need to step up and give and seek what we need so that we can be the best version of ourselves, no matter whether we're doing it in person or through the camera. It is all about the quality of our relationships. It impacts everything.
And I'm listening to this right now and I'm thinking, man, this could not only help me at work, this could just help me improve my relationships everywhere. So I can experience not just fulfillment at work, but fulfillment in my day-to-day life. I mean, it might be an assumption, but that's just what I'm hearing. I don't know about anyone who watches this right now.
Then we take no responsibility for your marriage or personal relationships.
Debbie, I want to make sure, I don't know if I'm saying this right. Debbie Shumaki, this is all of you at SkyeTeam make life better in so many ways. Thank you, with 3 unicorn emojis. Not 1, not 2, 3 unicorn emojis.
Oh, that's the right answer.
Oh, well, friends, now is this the event right here? Are we going for a half hour? Are we going for the full hour? What are we doing today?
We're scheduled for a half hour, but Ben, we're in your hands. It's your show.
Oh my goodness gracious. Well,
we love you. No guilt or expectation.
Yeah, no shame, no guilt if you need to leave. But let's just do a few, if you have a question, it doesn't even have to be business related, just a fun question for Eric, Morag, Ruby, feel free to go ahead and throw that in the comments section. I have a few here that I've been sent. All right, so dogs or cats? Eric, Ruby, Morag, go around. We'll just go right around the circle. Dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Meow.
Cats.
Okay, all right. What are we?
I travel too much for a dog, dude.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true. I get that. Well, although my dog right now is literally sitting behind me in the chair. I don't know if anybody can see that. That is Scooter Whiting. My little breathing lumbar support. Everyone's like, Ben, you have great posture. No, I have a dog sitting behind me. What are we binge watching right now? What are we watching on the old Netflix and or Hulu, Amazon Prime, Disney Plus, or HBO Max?
I am watching the Lord of the Rings series on Amazon. I forgot what the new title is, but I watched all of that. It's a little messy,
The
but
Rings of
it was
Power.
really good. It was really
Rings
good.
of Power.
Yeah. Oh, and Walking Dead. I'm super fanatic. I've watched every
No.
episode.
No.
Is that still happening?
Yeah, it's exactly what I said, Ben.
There's like 6
I mean,
episodes left.
I
and
said
it's
people are
epic.
jerks and zombies kill people. That's the whole
But like
premise of that
these
show.
are all
Oh my
zombies from like 2004. Like
Yeah.
they just got stumps now. They're just on their knees. Just it's like they're crawling dead. But another question for another time. Morag, what are we watching these days?
I can tell you what I'm not watching: Napoleon Dynamite. I'm
Oh,
watching The Empress.
also the wrong answer.
Yeah.
And
said the Empress?
Eric,
Awesome.
Eric, what are we watching these days?
I'm a Star Wars guy. I'm neck deep in Andor right now on Disney Plus.
Is it worth the hype?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
I'm not going to say anything more. It starts a little slow. It's deep though. It's deep. Might be one of the best things to happen. I'm just going
I caught Obi-Wan. I haven't watched Andor yet, but I'm going to get into it. I'll
Hit it.
definitely get into it.
Hit it.
All right. Let's go around the circle. What historical figure would you like to meet the most?
Ugh.
I'm not going first.
Or-
Right.
Let's go. All right. So what
Hysterical.
person would you like to meet the most? It can be fictional, non-fictional, dead
wow.
or alive. It's the classic. We're not going to have dinner with 5 people. We're going to have a lunch with one other person. Who's it going to be?
Jean-Luc Picard.
Oh.
Jean-Luc. Now, the
Wow.
character, or is it just Patrick Stewart?
Well, both will do. Yeah, either or.
Right.
Yeah, 2 for 1. 2 for 1. But definitely
Tomato,
fantasy
tomato.
career. Tomato, tomato. Marketing accent.
Wow.
Mm.
That's such a tough question. Asking a disc C what his favorite thing is about anything is really hard because I have many opinions on this. But I'll go with my sort of first like thing that popped into my head. I would sit down with Sting because
Sting.
from the Police.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Because
And
it's a musician thing.
It is. Yeah. Bruce
That is
Springsteen is mine, but that's more of a transcendence thing. Ruby.
Well, since I'm going last, and people who know me know that I do whatever the F I want, I'm going to pick 2. So number 1, I think Maya Angelou. I just think there's so much wisdom. And Ben, I think you've actually met her, which is
I was very
amazing.
fortunate to spend some time with Dr. Angelou. I'll tell a
Yeah.
story about Dr.
Yeah.
Angelou in a moment here.
Yeah.
You have to do it in her voice though.
I will.
And my second, I think just sort of my current favorite artist, Florence from Florence and the Machine. I think she's pretty brilliant and amazing and artistic and like, ooh. So it would be a fun
Ah.
conversation.
That is so great. And Eric, this is actually a great. So, friends, again, You Me We, Cultivate, available on Amazon right now. We are celebrating today the book You Me We that was just released, written by these 3 amazing, incredible people. Now, if you've been watching with us for a few minutes here, you realize that a big part of this is showing up as our authentic selves, which sometimes in life means being, vulnerable. And, the stigma around it is, sometimes vulnerability in other people, it's courage. But if I do it, it's weakness. And the story I'm going to tell right now about Dr. Angelou is I had the very good fortune, it was 2004, 2005, to spend some time with Dr. Angelou. And there was a couple of other people doing it with me. And one day we were arguing about virtues and what is the most important, what is the most valuable virtue. Some people were saying patience, some people were saying strength, intelligence, and we were jibber jabbering, as my father would say. And then finally, at this table of idiots, one of us was like, hey, maybe we should ask, the National Treasure Poet Laureate who's just sitting here staring at us. And so we were like, Dr. Angelou, what do you think the most important virtue is? And she looked at us, and without missing a beat, she goes, oh, friends, I don't think I know. The most important virtue is courage. For without courage, no other virtue can be practiced with consistency.
Ooh.
Do you have any other questions?
Nope. Class dismissed.
Mic drop. Class dismissed.
Beautiful.
We're done. So, friends, I encourage you to embrace courage. If you're on the fence, go ahead, click, buy it now on Amazon Prime. Get your book in the mail. You will not regret taking courage in this particular instance. Oh, Ruby, Morag, Eric, is there anything left that you just want to make sure people know before we round out today?
I mean, I want to let everybody know how grateful we are,
Yeah.
right? This journey we've been on for the last few days, since we got our author copies of the book, sending out copies to launch team, talking to folks who have actually held it, read it, have feedback for us. And yesterday was bananas with people actually getting books and us getting pictures of people taking book selfies and pictures of them unboxing the books. I mean, it's a life-changing experience. So super grateful for everybody that bothered to show up here today. Thank you so much. For everybody that's considering buying the book, that's enough. Thank you.
Yeah, I would just add, thank you again, gratitude, abundance and generosity. I am your ally. If you're one of those 20% who has nobody at work, call me. I'm here for you. We're here for you. And thank you.
Just gratitude. That's what I've really been leaning into the last couple of days. It's amazing. I don't even think we've soaked it all in yet. So thank you to each one of you who are here today. You are in some way one of our allies and one of those really important people in our lives. So thank you. And reach out if we can support you in any way. And we mean it when we say that.
Oh, friends, thank you so much. Again, if you want to learn more about the book, you can visit www.youmewebook.com. Eric, Morag, Ruby, thank you guys so much. I know that the most precious resource all of us has is our time. And I know the unicorns at SkyTeam are grateful. I am grateful that you shared a little bit of yours with us today here. But since they are such amazing people and they don't brag about themselves, I'm going to brag about them. They have worked with some incredible clients, not just in the country, but around the world. They have an awesome new video that highlights some of the things this unicorn team does. Luke, I believe we have that in the queue ready to fire away. Friends, thank you guys so much for joining us. I'll leave you with this video. Morag, Eric, Ruby, you're amazing. Thank you guys so much for being the amazing unicorns that you are.
And thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for being here today, for being our auxiliary unicorn in service. I so appreciate you.
Awesome.
This has been awesome.
Oh, friends. All right, Luke, hit that video, my friend.
If you guys are a leadership development firm, I mean, seriously, why are you so into unicorns?
Oh, can I use my movie voice to answer that question?
The unicorn, a mythical creature known to be almost impossible to find.
Yeah, that's pretty much how rare it is to find a leader who's been coached to cultivate their team's full potential, or their own.
You have to be this dramatic about leadership? So as we start the work, we hear leaders say, we're tired. Our teams are overwhelmed. They're disconnected from the work. The engagement's low. And the truth is, they're not having a lot of fun anymore.
After they graduate from a leadership development program or complete a coaching engagement, we hear just the opposite. We constantly hear things like, we feel like we're on the same page, we have a common language. They feel more connected. And they're telling us that it's having ripple effects across the entire organization.
In the work that we've done with over 10,000 leaders, we've learned that the #1 influencer of your happiness, engagement, and productivity at work is the quality and depth of the relationships that you have in the workplace.
If you want a highly engaged culture, if we want to retain our top talent, it means that we need to be connecting at a human level with all of our colleagues. You, me, we, and the concepts we share in the Ally mindset move from the outside-in perspective to the inside-out perspective.
And your presence as a leader, how you show up, the words you say, how you speak, how you write emails, it matters.
We get to know our client organizations from the inside out. And what's really cool about that is we learn who they are, what their culture is, and what they're all about, so that we can create solutions that are specific to them.
It's only when we know you that we can be laser-like in the recommendations that will make a lasting difference. We help create leaders at all levels in your company, along 3 dimensions: leading the team, leading themselves, and leading the business.
What's really cool about that is that the teams get focused on the same outcome, and we're really clear about who's accountable for what and what we need to do to make it happen.
And ultimately, that's where the magic happens and where we start seeing all of the unicorns we're after in business. Whether that's higher revenue, higher employee engagement, increased retention, and ultimately strong customer feedback and loyalty that makes you know that we're nailing this and ultimately we're better together.
This stuff is so powerful. It sounds cliche, but it's true. People start feeling happier at work, and when they do, the results are so much better when they work together. Am I done? Can I drop the mic?